yeah, we thought, we were trying to present as a business, and she's like, well, I need to come and see your facilities. And
And she really said that?
yeah,
I just need to make sure you're
I
not
kid you
just three
not.
guys.
I don't want to, I make sure it's not three guys in a garage.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And Jeff's like, no, we're three guys in a loft.
Even better.
Yeah.
Welcome to Bootstraps and Battle Scars, the podcast by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs. Our whole idea of this podcast is to have guests here who have some entrepreneurial experience, who have enjoyed the ups and downs of the entrepreneurial journey, and we just want to hear the stories. I always feel like the best way to learn from another person is just to hear the stories and listen to their experience, because I think we'll all just take away what we take away from it. So my guest with us today is Isaac Childs. Isaac, you and we've known each other over the years. We kind of ran in similar circles, but we haven't really become close until the last few months. I know you've been on an entrepreneurial journey. I'm very familiar, and a lot of people are probably very familiar with your biggest venture to date was Rustico.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did I say that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Because there's a Rustica and a Rustico.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
we're
Rustico.
You're the masculine Rustico.
Yeah.
As opposed to the feminine Rustica.
Right.
Would that be proper Espanol?
Spanish?
I
think so.
don't know.
Yeah.
I think so. Do you speak Spanish?
I don't.
No?
Nope.
Just an assumption there. Sorry. That was a little judgmental, wasn't it?
It's okay.
Can we cut that? We might have to cut that. Anyway, Isaac, we become good friends, and you and I have shared some experiences together, and you and I have some similar experiences, life experiences. I think we've been able to help each other out. Mm-hmm. I thought it'd be great that you come here and talk to me. We're just learning this whole podcast thing.
Great.
And so like I explained, I just want people on who have experience. I want to hear experience. I want to get to know you a little better, share some knowledge, share some expertise. You can say if you want, because we learned that is actually acceptable. Even seasoned professionals say right?
Yep.
And we can say that too.
And right.
And right. Okay.
I'll say right.
So let's start off. I want to hear about your family. Like, tell me about I want some personal stuff on you. Okay. I want to know, your personal story, whatever that means to you. I want to hear it. Let's talk about it, and let's just get started and go for it.
Yeah, I think that's an awesome place to start. Actually, my dad was a contractor in the '80s, self-employed. So entrepreneurial spirit definitely runs deep.
And we're in Utah.
Yeah.
And so did you grow up in Utah? Mm-hmm. So your dad was a contractor in Utah?
In Utah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So I actually was born in Wyoming, and my dad actually started a gas station and convenience store, I think in 73 or 74, right before the embargo.
Oh.
So
yeah.
met immediately with some challenges around bootstrapping that business, and then moved to contracting. Obviously, the 80s was a little bit different story for contractors, but always self-employed. Definitely was a guy that he beats to his own drum, and he needed to find work that he could do, that he was the boss of, if that makes sense. I come from a family of 10 kids. So
10 kids.
Yeah.
And where are you in those 10?
I'm the third oldest, second oldest and third oldest. So there's a yours, mine, and ours scenario, a whole Brady Bunch kind of thing. My mom passed away when I was fairly young, around 5, in a car wreck with my two brothers. And then my dad remarried my stepmom when I was about 6 or 7, and she had 3 kids, 2 boys and a daughter. So we went from 3 to 6, and then they had 4 more.
And then they had 4. Okay, that's a journey to get to 10.
So I've got two stepbrothers, 1 stepsister, 2 real brothers, 3 half brothers, and 1 half sister.
Okay.
So it's
my family's very similar to that. Not 10. There's 6 of us from 3 marriages.
Okay.
So same idea. Half, real, step.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a really big blend. We've got my 2 brothers look like me. My mom was from Mexico. My dad's from Wyoming, but my stepbrothers.
So Wyoming's like a nationality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like your mom's from Mexico and your dad's like Wyoming.
From Wyoming. Yeah. Not America.
Oh, he's Wyoming.
Wyoming.
It's a thing. Yeah.
Well, anybody from Wyoming would tell you that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, and Texas, Wyoming. Yeah.
Right. So, And then I have other brothers that are blonde hair, blue eyes, and 6'4".
Gotcha.
And then us little Mexicans over here, I guess.
But if a soccer match breaks out, you got it.
Right.
In fact, you were quite an accomplished soccer player, weren't you?
Yeah.
I think I've heard that story.
I played collegiate at UVU before it was UVU. Now they're too good. I could never have played that. They've leveled up.
Yeah. But back then it was just club, right?
Right.
And now it's a sanctioned sport, and they're doing pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're fairly good for collegiate at the collegiate level.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. But that's my family.
And how did you guys end up in Utah from Wyoming?
Well, yeah, my dad moved down here when he met my stepmom. So my stepmom, I think, lived down here. And we moved to Payson, Utah. So
oh boy,
keep that very quiet. So
Payson.
Let's edit that out of the podcast, please.
we don't need to admit to that.
No.
Wyoming, Payson. I mean, wow,
totally different places.
Yeah. So this is back when probably your dad wasn't like on Tinder.
No.
They probably met in the classifieds or something. How did they meet?
I think it was actually an LDS stake dance. One of those regional dances
the
or whatever.
Church
the church kind of things.
Okay, good.
Somewhere, and then we, I think we moved 18 times in the first 16 years of my life. I mean, obviously, we rented a lot, and most places, just finding a place that will house 10 kids is pretty tough. And we moved around a lot, mostly locally, all pretty much between Payson, Spring Lake, and Spanish Fork. But that's where I was raised. I had that childhood, which was a lot of fun. I mean, any kid of the '80s was born out and raised outside, pretty much. And so
isn't that awesome?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And so that's how I lived. In fact, by the time I was 16, I was competitively rock climbing, and pretty much traveling across the nation, going to quite a few different competitions and stuff like that. And then played soccer quite a bit as well, and then moved into that in college.
And what kind of a contractor was your dad?
General contractor, residential, some commercial. I think his claim to fame is he built and put together the pool that's in Delta, which is in the middle of nowhere in Utah.
Yeah.
It's probably been torn down by now, but that's a project that he did.
And did you work was it like a family business? Like, would he take you guys to work and put you to work and say, hey, sweep this floor or haul this lumber?
Yeah. We did a couple of jobs. We did quite a few jobs actually, for sure, with him. I have some interesting memories on that. I think one time I was sweeping a driveway and was backing up and just backed myself right into the basement and fell off backward. I had the old concrete rebar that was sticking up out of the foundation, right, as I'm sweeping and I'm backing up and whatever, and just tripped over the back into the basement. And somehow I have no idea how, but my dad, who was across the garage or the driveway at the time, saw me slip and fall head first down and somehow caught me by my shoelaces, and literally probably half a foot from hitting the ground, I'm hanging there by my dad, reaching over the side.
No kidding.
Somehow grabbed my shoelaces. So
wow.
There's my construction hazard incident.
And
for sure.
You were fired. He couldn't have you on the job site anymore.
After that, I was 9. He's forget this. This kid's liability.
You've been fired.
Yeah. So no, lots of construction sites. Yeah, for sure. Growing up.
Okay. So you grew up in a family of entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. Your dad just had to work for himself and did his thing and provided for his family.
Yeah.
And then you went off to college, UVU. Mm-hmm. And then tell me about your business. How did you come up with that idea? Tell us what that business was. I don't want to butcher it, so I'm going to let you tell us what that business was that you started and ran for years. Yeah,
so before I started that business, though, I actually started another business of garbage cleanup service. And so that happened back because, like I said, we're entrepreneurial. In fact, most of my brothers they run their own businesses as well. We've just all followed, I think, in this footsteps of my dad, which really I thought was entrepreneurial, and it still is, but very much it's just we have to be our own bosses.
That's a thing.
One of my biggest values is autonomy, and it has to even more than freedom. It's I have to be able to control my own schedule. And at 16 or 17, like I told you, we moved 18 times. My parents moved up Covered Bridge Canyon, which is in Spanish Fork Canyon.
Oh, yeah, great area.
Yeah, it's a cool area. And settled down there, and my job, because there's 10 kids, and was the trash every weekend. Well, up there they don't have a localized trash collection. You had to haul it down to the dump, right? And so I got just smart, and I was like, well, everyone else up here has to do the same thing. So I just threw some flyers out in all the doors and said, hey, I'm hauling trash on Saturdays. Put your trash out. I'll haul it away, $30. You know.
So for people that don't know, Covered Bridge Canyon is this little kind of private community up a canyon, and it's private, right? And how many homes are up there?
Well, I think when I was there, it was close to 67, 68.
Right, and there's a few just part-time homes up there, but a lot of people live up the canyon.
Yeah.
And there's one road out.
Yeah. Yep. One road out.
And then you have to drive out.
Spanish Fork, Highway 6. Yeah.
And so trash pickup, did you have to actually take it to the dump, or just take it down to like where they had like the larger dumpsters?
Well, I think individually we would just run it down to Kmart, which is at the bottom.
Because they had dumpsters out back.
But when I was hauling everyone's trash, that's not really possible. So I'd haul it into the dump. Yeah,
So there was no organized trash service.
No, there isn't, because you are technically in county lines, but county doesn't want to claim it. And this could have changed. I mean, this was 25, 30 years ago at this point. But and so at the time there was just no trash collection service for either the city of Spanish Fork or the county of Utah.
Okay, so you had this idea. You're like, hey, I'll come get their trash. I'll take it to the dump and make a few bucks. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah. It turned out awesome. I ended up employing 3 or 4 of my brothers because I hated taking up all my Saturdays, and then some friends. And then when I took off to serve an LDS mission, the branch president that lived up there as well, he ended up buying the business from me and for his kids.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So.
How long did you do that?
It was like 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
And why not? I mean, they needed to figure out what to do with their trash.
Right.
And they're supporting the young kid who lives down the street.
Right. Well, I was already hauling trash, and we had a ton of it. And so I was like, yeah, if I'm pulling a trailer every Saturday morning, I might as well.
Because of the construction stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So it made sense, yeah. So that was kind of the first business. Then I served an LDS mission, came back, thought about going to school, didn't really. I went and played a little bit in California until I was about 24, 25, and then came back, started a window washing business, which I then sold as well, not for pretty much anything. But then I started Rustico, and Rustico was really kind of a side project to begin with. I wasn't intending to do that. I was thinking I was going to go to school. But me and 2 buddies took a marketing class at BYU or at UVU, I think.
And UVU is Utah Valley University. It's our local state college. I think it's the largest school by enrollment in Utah, right?
Yeah, it is now, yeah.
Yeah, because it's a satellite. There's people, it's a commuter campus.
But I even think on campus.
I think on campus.
I think it's quite a bit. So
they've done a great job. UVU's done a great job of growing and offering all kinds of services. So my wife reminded me that not everyone that's not all 4 of our listeners may be from Utah.
I love it. Yeah.
So I'm trying to clarify things, right?
Yeah. No, that's good. That's important for sure.
Like, what if somebody's from Wyoming who's listening to this podcast? They need to know that they're listening to one of their fellow Wyomingans. Wyomingans.
Yeah.
Wyomingans. Okay.
But yeah, so Utah Valley University is when I went to school. We were going to school there. We took a marketing class, and this was in 2000, so right before the .com or right after the .com bubble, right? And all of that. The internet was happening. And that class had at the syllabus at the first of the year was the very bottom, this little caveat, which said basically if you build a website and sell $20,000 worth of product through the site, you get an instant A in the class. And we were thinking, great, we're going to do that and go snowboard all winter long.
Yeah, of course. That's how it works, yeah.
So at the time I was building these leather-bound journals and notebooks because in my travels, I'd traveled quite a bit in my teenage years and then abroad. I started writing in journals. Quite honestly, I'd been writing in journals since I was probably 8 or 9, and then started making my own journals and notebooks in my early 20s. And so I had made these leather-bound journals and notebooks, and we decided that was the product we were going to use on the site. We were going to build and then sell $20,000 worth of product. And of course, this is at the time when Nike can't even sell shoes yet online. Like no one's trusting to put their credit card information.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So this is still pretty brand new. But luckily for us, within a couple weeks, Disney ended up calling us. We landed a pretty massive order through Disney because of that website, got an A in the class, and actually didn't snowboard for the next 5 years because we launched.
Now you had to work.
Right.
Yeah.
We instantly launched into the business Rustico, and I ended up dropping out of school so we could do that full time. And I always told myself I would go back to school when it was time to get a real job.
Yeah.
So that was 22 years ago, 25
And
years
okay,
ago.
so this is interesting. So Disney somehow wanted to put together some kind of order for their, like an internal order for their executives or something, and stumbled across your website.
Yeah, so Disney, at the time I didn't know it, but Disney owns quite a few of the different media companies around the world, and they own Discovery Channel. And there was a new series out called Storm Stories. It was one of the very first original kind of reality TV shows.
And once again, this is back in
2000.
2000. Okay,
Yeah,
so this is 25 years ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago. Yeah, so, but they were creating a little press release junket, and they wanted this journal ship's log that looked like it had come off the bottom of the ocean. And so I took a bunch of leather, washed it through the washing machine, and tumble dried it to make it just look beat up and old, and then bound it into this old rag paper and created these really cool books for them.
So they saw that this is something, you're in this leather journal world, and they asked you if you could do this custom application.
Yeah, but that's actually an interesting story. Talk about Bootstraps. Yeah, they saw our website and they said, "Hey, you can make these things." And to get that order, it was like a $37,000 order or something like that. We had to jump through some hoops because Disney has this intensive, thick, approved vendor, approved supplier checklist that you have to go through.
They just don't send you the credit card and say, "Here."
No.
Okay.
So, which we found out, but they loved what we sent them, and so they fast tracked us through all of that paperwork, it's normally a 3-year process to become a preferred vendor for
3
Disney.
years?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, well, think about it, because for them, I mean, they're working with factories across the world, right? So they're looking for things like child exploitation, bad working conditions, poor pay, things like that. Obviously, we didn't have any of that. We were...
Because you didn't have any employees.
Me and my two buddies, my two partners in the loft of my apartment, right?
Yeah.
As she was closing the deal, the account rep at the very end, she's like, "Okay, we just signed off on the PO. Here's the check. We're going to send it, and we'll be to your facility on Monday." And this was like a Friday. And my partner, Jefferson Moss at the time, who was on the phone, was like, "Wait, why are you coming out?"
Yeah, we don't have a facility.
And she's like, "Well, we just want to make sure that you're not just 3 guys in a garage." It's exactly what she said.
So this whole time you're trying to put on this persona that you're Rustico.
Right. Well, at the time it was even called Isaac Designs. We hadn't even been called Rustico yet. We hadn't changed the name. And so, we thought, we were trying to present as a business. And she's like, "Well, I need to come and see your facilities."
And she really said that?
Yeah,
I just need to make sure
I kid you not.
Guys.
I don't want to. I make sure it's not 3 guys in a garage.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And Jeff's like, "No, we're 3 guys in a loft."
Even better.
Yeah.
We don't even have a garage.
He didn't tell her that. He kind of he thought really fast. He said, "Well, unfortunately, we're going to be out for the first 2 days of the week, but you can show up on Wednesday." So we bought us 2 days. Over the weekend, we found a facility, and then by Monday, we had brought in half our friends, like 6 or 8 friends, and phones and all of our gear, and had a little facility. So by the time she showed up Wednesday, we were legit.
It looked like you had a place?
We were a legit operation.
So. I mean, talk about fake it till you make it. That's awesome.
A little bit, yeah. So that was kind of a keystone beginning for us at Rustico.
Yeah. So you got that big order. Mm-hmm. You fulfilled it. Everything went great.
Yeah.
And now you're a real business.
Yeah. Well, and that's what was interesting. So that, and among other things, I mean, obviously at the time, right about then is when we had chosen to move from, at the time, and this is another story, but I'll finish the Disney one. That preferred vendors list that takes 3 years to be a part of also has a wait list. They don't just allow you on it. And so the fact that we were fast-tracked through put us basically on this list of preferred vendors that every other major corporation in America and other places use. They just use Disney's preferred vendor list because
if Disney already vetted you, then you've got to be good. So
we started doing corporate orders from everyone from banking institutions like American Express and Chase Bank to high-end attorney offices and corporate conglomerates.
And were they contacting you? Mm-hmm. Like once they saw that, this company is now a preferred list, let's contact these guys.
Yeah.
So your marketing efforts were pretty
minimal. Pretty
just
minimal,
the phone.
But just being on that, yeah. So answering the phone was a start. So,
so then you got, so now we're in our facility. And did you stay in that facility for a while? Mm-hmm. So that was a real place.
Yeah, it wasn't I think we were there for about a year, and then we outgrew it, and then moved to another one, and kind of moved on from that. So, so that's really kind of how we started. Is these little increments. Like I said, like for years, I would just say, "Hey, I'm doing this until I have to get a real job." It was very much like every day it was just a different challenge, a different battle, and we kind of rolled forward a little bit at a time. So,
and it was you and two other guys. So you started hiring people. And did you manufacture? You did all the manufacturing yourself, or were you didn't hire it out?
No, in fact, that was the other story I was going to tell you. Is so me and my two partners, Court Griffin and Jefferson Moss, we started the business. We actually had a fourth partner who really supplied the credit cards. I think at one point we had like this many credit cards with $1,500 balances, like all maxed out to kind of run through it.
So that was your that was bootstrapping. That was where you were coming up with money to buy materials, to sell product, to bring in the money. Okay.
Yeah, and it was this vicious cycle to the point to where, like, I remember on some Fridays we'd be like, "Hey, we've got to make these payments." We'd run up to Jackson Hole and sell like to 5 of the stores that we had in the city. We'd sell like $2,000 worth of product and then go back and use the money to pay for bills.
Oh, so just show up with stuff, these cool little boutique stores,
like carpet bag salesman a little bit. Like that's the whole shebang. We went through all of the different markets.
And describe the product a little bit, because I'm familiar with it, and I have several of them I've acquired over the years. But explain the actual product itself, because I think people need to get a picture in their mind of what this is. Really cool stuff.
Yeah, so Rustico really was founded on this idea of leather and paper. Like, I love journaling, I love writing, I love the impact that it could provide to someone by journaling, right? As well as just using it as travel journals. So we created these uniquely hand-bound, handcrafted rough paper with leather, so soft leather books that are just indestructible. And old world style of binding, quite a bit different than modern day book binding, because it is so hand processed. And so we definitely did manufacture in the US. And what was interesting about that is right after we got this Disney deal, Jefferson put us into the another BYU's, Brigham Young University's entrepreneurial, they had this contest. And we took dead last.
It was like the new product launch, and if you win, you get some money to help.
Just any business idea. It was a business plan competition, right? So we created a business plan, and the reason why we lost was no one manufactures in the U.S. 100%. Like, it was like, you guys are dead last.
that was used against you.
Oh yeah, 100%. So I mean, this is
like, you can't make it work and manufacture that in the U.S. Wow.
Yeah, in fact, so much they felt so bad for us. That's how bad our business plan was. that they gave us 40 hours of free time with their professor. I forgot his name, but he was their professor of manufacturing and business supply chain or whatever.
Really?
At the time. And we were stoked. We were like, great, this is exactly what we need. We want someone to teach us. And the first hour we walked in there, he basically told us that we needed to find other jobs or we would get divorced and our lives would be miserable.
So you finished last in the business plan competition, and the consolation prize for the last guy is you get 40 hours.
We had up to 40 hours.
40 hours with this professor who's going to consult you and like show you the way.
Yep.
And his answer is, you're toast.
Yep.
This isn't going to work.
In fact, at the time, he looked at my business partner, Jefferson Moss, and was like, "What are you doing right now for work?" And he's like, "Well, I sell cars. I'm in college, right?" And he's like, "Keep doing that."
Right.
So we walked out of there pretty discouraged.
And that was the end of that?
Yeah. Well, what we did is we ended up printing out a big picture of him. We found his picture on a website at BYU, printed out a big picture, and we put it on the wall. And anytime we sold an order, we threw a dart at his face. So
no way. Are you serious?
He became our catalyst for growth. Like, it became this huge, like, just drive for us to just prove him wrong. So in one way, awesome. he helped us out like crazy.
Yeah.
Because it was just massive.
There was more motivation than you possibly could imagine.
Yeah.
And did you ever keep in touch with him? Did you ever go back do you think he knew what you guys had done?
I have no idea. I have his face in my head. It's etched in my mind, but I have no idea even what his name is. So.
And you never like took a picture with all the darts in it and sent it to him and said, "Hey, FYI."
We should have. There was a lot. There was a lot of darts in his face by the time we moved out of that place. But no.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah, we just used it as.
What's his name? Who is he? What's his name?
I don't know.
You can't remember his name?
I don't really know. Yeah.
But you can picture him.
I've looked back through BYU to see if he was still there about 10 years ago, and he was gone.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so you
and I think he meant well. Like, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to go back and be like he was deliberately telling us no, but I think he just, the mentality at the time was just you couldn't manufacture anymore in the U.S. Manufacturing had gone away in the 60s or 70s and 80s, right? Kind of mindset. Now we're kind of seeing a little bit of a swing back, but yeah, just interesting.
And so you continue to manufacture that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in fact, by the time I sold Rustico in 2023, we were still manufacturing about 90%
Really?
of everything we made.
Huh.
Yeah, our facility at that time was 25,000 feet. I think at its biggest, I had 90-something employees, most of them manufacturing supply chain.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. Okay, so that's how we got started with Rustico. Mm-hmm. So the true entrepreneurial spirit. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, I really like that story, how the professor says this isn't going to work, and you just double down and go for it because you have that, you had the gut feeling that said this is going to work.
Yeah.
And was this before or after you'd gotten the Disney order?
This was after.
So even after the Disney order,
that's why we did the business plan, because we were like, oh, we have something here.
Yeah,
right? We've got potential.
But their whole hang up was there's just no way you can make this work and manufacture them in the United States.
Yeah, and granted, it's hard. I mean, it's hard to. I learned a lot. I mean, over the next 20 years on, you take really so we initially started as leather-bound journals and notebooks, which is quite honestly a commodity-based product in the U.S. You could go to Walmart and pick one up for $5.
Yeah.
Right. So who's going to buy a $150 version from me? Right. You have to really tell a brand story, and get people behind what it is and decommoditize it, if you will. Right. And Rustico evolved over the next 20 years. Like, we didn't just do leather-bound journals. I mean, we did everything in leather at one point, right? As our manufacturing capabilities increased, we just increased the line. Like, it went from books and journals to portfolios to belts to toiletry bags to cases to bags to, it just kind of expands.
Yeah.
Wallets and so on.
Leather goods.
So, all leather goods. So by the time we sold it off, I think we had 395 master SKUs, different products across the entire leather goods accessories kind of line.
And were you, and you said about 90% of your products were manufactured in the U.S. And then the other 10%. Like, I mean, were you tempted to go overseas because you could see that your costs would have been significantly less? I mean, what was that idea like? How'd that hit you?
Yeah, I mean, over the years, like, we tried different times, we assessed that, and quite honestly, for most of the type of manufacturing I did, I think there was a few things, because I never went into it wanting to learn how to manufacture leather goods. Like, I was doing product development and design with business on the side as my so-called college major. I love designing and developing new products. I felt like I kind of got locked into leather for a lot of years. But the way we manufactured it and the processes we developed was really the Rustico secret sauce. Like, when I looked at overseas production with shipping costs and volume, it still didn't equate to us just not making it in-house, because I already had the facility. Now, if I had to go out and rebuild the whole facility again, I think it would make more sense to go overseas. But at the time, I had already built out the facility. We just slowly had built it with time. And so it never made sense to actually, all of our core products were built in our manufacturing facility because of our processes, not even because of the product. So that never really made sense, except for where it became apparent was when it was more complicated, when we didn't have the manufacturing capabilities or the machinery to really do complicated and complex sewing for leather, is really where and that's when we started outsourcing that to other manufacturing. But for me, once again, these aren't commoditized products. I was building very unique, individual, custom, long-lasting, bespoke items, and so I needed quality assurance and quality control needed to be pretty high.
So we might see other leather-bound journals or diaries at the Office Depot or Staples, but you're saying too is you weren't building that. You had a much superior product. Your leather process was better, and you could put them in your hands, and could you feel the difference?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, just the quality of the materials we would use, the way it was tanned, the way it was finished, it was all to our specs. The type of paper we would use, why. I could probably take a whole hour and talk to you about the importance of paper.
Yeah.
and writing utensils or writing instruments for that matter. Like there's a whole religion around that, I think, to people that really write well. Even now, so I sold off Rustico in 2023 and made a connection with a gentleman that owns another leather goods, a high-end luxury goods company out of Geneva, Switzerland. And I work for him, really consulting quite a bit in his U.S. facilities that I'm building out for him here. And his level of expertise of manufacturing and quality of materials is even beyond Rustico. Rustico is in a premium range. He's truly in the luxury range. So think Hermes, Coach, Louis Vuitton level is what he does. And so that's where I'm spending most of my time now.
And is he trying to enter the U.S. market because he's already done this over there?
Yeah, he's been around for about 30 years out of Geneva, Switzerland. He has 5 facilities across the Europe and Asia, but he wants to develop here in the U.S. and build his brand here in the U.S. Within the U.S.
And is it a similar product to Rustico?
It's leather goods, but we're building out a collection within his brand that is similar to the Rustico products that I was building, but his line of products is it's all leather goods, but much more high-end luxury, a lot brighter colors. Like we stuck really closely to your traditional leather colors and tones.
Yeah.
And he's a much more European, vibrant, bright.
Gotcha. So he's developing a line that is somewhat more similar to what you did at Rustico to offer.
Yeah, I'm developing that for him.
Oh, cool.
But at that higher level of luxury that he's gone to. So
yeah. Okay, so we've talked about this, and you've already brought it up. But bootstrapping, what does bootstrapping mean to you? And like I said, we've touched on this, but from a business perspective, what is that? When you think of bootstrapping, what do you think of?
Oh man, it's changed so much over the years, and I don't know if there's one way to put it as much as bootstrapping is this approach. An easy way to think about it is like, hey, I'm not willing to go borrow someone else's money to make it happen, right? But I think it's a little bit more than that. I think it's being willing to really just tackle whatever it needs to be done, however it needs to be done, and you're kind of willing to just get your hands dirty in all sorts of different ways to make it happen. That to me is what bootstrapping is. So,
gotcha. Yeah. Well, for example, like when you started doing trash, I mean, you just went and did the trash, and then you saw that you could hire your brothers, and they helped you do the trash. So that was an awesome display of bootstrapping, and even the Rustico. I mean, it was just a thing you liked and you thought was cool, and here's a marketing plan for a class, and it worked.
Yeah, it's innovative. It's just like this. Always looking at what needs to happen and just tackling that problem. I recently, the other day, was just watching The Martian, with Matt Damon. And the very end of that movie he's back on Earth and he's talking in the class and he's like, so you start with just one problem and you solve that problem. If you solve that problem, you solve the next problem. And if you solve enough problems, you get to come home, right? That's kind of how the movie ends, right?
Yeah.
I really do feel like that's the entrepreneurial way, but in a lot of ways that is bootstrapping. It's like you just figure out, like, here's this need, I'm going to solve this need, and it's going to lead to this need, I'm going to solve this need.
And there's a lot of times you don't even know what you have to do next, but it comes up and you just do it.
Yeah.
So you tackle each problem or each issue that's just right there in front of you.
Yeah.
And then something else comes up, because there's no way you would have known at the beginning of that, here's all the things I need to do.
Yeah.
You just did it.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish I could say there's more planning and foresight in some of it. But a lot of times it's very much just present based, right? It's like here's what's in front of me right now, and assessing that and making the right decision as you can, and moving forward, and then making the next right decision. And
that's
so
cool.
On, so
That's cool.
So.
Okay, so the other and your story about the credit cards. I mean, that is like that's like the epitome of entrepreneurship and bootstrapping. It's like, okay, I got my credit cards. Can we get another credit card?
Right.
What's my limit?
Right.
Call them, see if we can increase our limit.
And you're just like shuffle. I swear, you just shuffle it around.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, we got some money here, and we got to pay this money here, and we got to.
Yeah.
It's
and then you're running off to Jackson Hole, and Jackson Hole, most people know, is a little bit nicer, higher end, exclusive kind of little community, a resort destination that's a little more high end.
Yeah.
So your journals show up perfectly in there.
Yep.
In Park City, Jackson Hole. That's just what
mom and pop boutique stories.
That's awesome. And so you're running off to Jackson Hole with boxes full of journals, hoping you could just sell them, and then make enough money to go back and keep going.
Yeah, and that's honestly what we did the first 2 or 3 years. So me and my two partners ran that business. What we signed on after we did that business plan competition, got the Disney order. We signed this 2-year non-compete or 2-year agreement to build this business and then sell it. While we were in school was the thought. Of course, 6 months in, I dropped out of school. 5 years later, we decided it was time to sell, and so we actually sold it off in 2006.
Rustico, you did?
Yeah, me and my two buddies were ready to move on. I wasn't quite ready, but I was burnt out. We were working probably way too hard, way too fast, and hadn't quite learned rhythm, I think, and flow. We were just full on, like, all in, right?
Yeah.
And so we ended up selling it off, and then that deal rescinded in 2006. And I bought the business, or I got the business back, and then bought my partners out and picked up a silent partner, a very good cousin of mine, Jim Loveland, who stayed on with me for the next 15, 16 years as I then grew it back.
Jim Loveland from software, construction software.
Yeah, Exactware.
Exactware. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, his dad started that business.
He's your cousin. Okay.
Yeah.
Wyoming. They're Wyoming.
Yeah.
Are they?
Yeah.
I met him years ago.
Yeah. So Jim Loveland's my uncle, his dad.
Okay.
And then his mom is my aunt, and my aunt and my dad are brother and sister. So, yeah. So Jim Loveland, the whole Loveland family, I love him a ton. But he was my business partner for when I bought out my two original partners.
Yeah, and he had great success in his business. So was he a mentor to you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has. I mean, obviously, the business that his dad started, he then ended up running, and then they took public, and then he was on board as the CEO and president.
So it was his dad that actually was the Jim Loveland that started the business, and he came in and took it over. I'm familiar with that business because I was in that industry for a while. And
everyone in construction knows.
Yeah, they know it. Or restoration for sure.
Yeah, restoration.
So mentor. Tell me about that. Like he was more than just an investor.
Yeah. No, Jim Senior, interesting, really dynamic individual, and Jim Loveland Jr., who was my partner, same way. So both great leaders, different styles of how to run business. I mean, I think with me, entrepreneurial, startups, Jim Loveland has a lot more acumen, if that's how you say the word, when it comes to strategy, really building and growing and scaling businesses, especially software, which is completely different than leather goods manufacturing. Sure. But the rules of business apply. And over the years, I got to lean on him in a lot of ways, especially when it came to cash flow, to how do you deal with this. In fact, Jim Sr. was one of the, I think his first piece of advice that he ever gave me was, who's your banker? And I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, a great relationship with the banker is absolutely vital to business success. And that has proven true like countless times over the years.
And when we say that, because I learned that lesson in my career as well, is it's not just the bank, but there's somebody in that bank that you have to have a relationship with that can help you.
Yes.
And it may not be giving you money.
No.
But it may be giving you a phone call and saying, hey, there's a check here.
Yeah.
That's not going to cover.
Right.
But just having that communication is huge.
Yeah. That relationship with an individual at a banking institution is really what he was talking about, right? Yeah. But back then it was like, who's your banker? Because that's what that meant.
Yeah.
Now you say that, someone's like, Chase?
Yeah.
No, dude, Chase is not your banker. And I found out the hard way with Chase actually in COVID, but that was one piece of critical mentorship advice. And then I think Jim Jr., who was my business
So
partner.
you had access to Jim Sr. because he was your uncle.
A little bit. Yeah.
Jim Jr. was your partner. Okay.
Yeah. If there's a piece of advice, I don't know if he said these exactly. I think I've probably formulated it down this way, but it's come from him. But there's three legs in the stool when it comes to any business, and it's passion, it's people, and it's purpose. Like those three legs are like critical to keeping the stool standing, right? And so
passion, people and purpose.
Yeah. And so obviously your people at the business, at whatever company you're running are huge, and people for you, connectedness to others, like bankers, whatever relationships you have. Passion, you just have to love what you do. You have to be alive with it. And then the purpose is kind of what keeps you grounded, keeps you moving forward in the right direction. You get out of balance with one of those or two of those, and you can really offset the stool. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had a great mentor this on round number 2. So you thought you were out of the business for a minute. Now, when you were bought out, were you still working in the business, or someone took it over completely?
No, yeah, the gentleman, I won't go into the details about him either. That deal turned out to not be as good of a deal for us as I anticipated. Lots to learn in that sell process, but no, he didn't want our help at all. So we were out. So for a year, I went back to school, like I said I was, and realized quickly like I didn't really care for school, and that what I was doing is actually what I wanted to do. And so talk about purpose and passion, right? I kind of figured out, hey, this is where I was at. So I burnt out a little bit, I think, on the passion side of it and the purpose side of it, because, I burned out on the passion side of it because I wasn't connected to my purpose. And so it was just all passion for the first 5 years, right? And then at some point you just run out of passion.
Yeah.
Everyone does, right? Especially if it's not tied to purpose, right? And so in that year off, I had a lot of time to really reflect and get back to my purpose. Like, well, what was the reason for it? Which reignited the passion, right? And then, of course, people is always necessary. They kind of keep you rooted in the right direction.
And the people are the people in your organization, the people you're surrounding yourself with?
I'd say it's people is a broad spectrum, but it's everything from your inner circle with friends and family to the mentors that are surrounding you to your employees as well, and then of course your network in your community, right? I think we've both been part of different networking groups where it's like entrepreneurship for a long time was seen as kind of this gladiator in the arena kind of thing, all by yourself, and I think we've learned, especially the last 20 years, very much like it's not. It's you can go it alone, but once again, it's one of the three legs of the stool, where if it's not, you don't nurture that side of it, you're not going to survive on passion and purpose by yourself.
Yeah, so you're saying that those three things are like the fuel to make you successful. And if one of them's out of balance, you're going to burn out. You're going to run.
I'd say they're the foundation. They're the three foundations for you to maintain your energy and keep that building, if you will, that you're building from really tippling. Because you don't have any people and just passion and purpose, you're going to burn out. If you have no passion and you've just got purpose and people, you got no passion. Like that's kind of the fuel, right?
Yeah.
And then if all you have is passion but no direction, right, and you're not backed with people, once again, it's like you eventually it just leads to burnout. And so loss of energy. Yeah,
that's good, and that's like you said, that's a formula or the concept that you got from one of your mentors. Yeah. And like I said, maybe it wasn't in those words. He didn't just pound that into you, but over time, talking to him, that became a important model for you.
Yeah, I think with Jim Levelin, my partner, where I gleaned that bits of information maybe wasn't all right up front, but I could see that in the way that he runs his businesses and the way that he runs his life and the way how things were going. And it wasn't just him. There's many other business owners and mentors that I've seen over the years where, the question inside of me has always been like, how do they maintain that level of energy for that long? And I think even internally myself, I've gone through plenty of experiences where I've learned where I'm lacking.
Yeah,
and had to fix that. So,
any other mentors in your climb that have influenced you?
Oh, there's so many. I don't know if I can name them all. An early one, in fact, earlier today from our other conversations, the one that comes to mind is Brian Fruit, who's another local business owner.
Yeah.
He ran a manufacturing facility here in the U.S. for 30 years, and he was a good early mentor for us because a lot of what he did was similar to us in terms of the manufacturing process. And so he's the one where I learned that more zeros behind the numbers, it's just more zeros. Because identically I would sit down with him, we would run through our profit and loss statement, and he would 10 years in front of me, and I would be like, hey, well, I'm at 3 million on the bottom line, and he'd be at 30, and he'd be at 4 million, and he'd be at 40, and it was just zeros.
Yeah.
And I would get so frustrated with what I thought were these little dollar problems, and he's like, it's no different. There's no difference.
Yeah.
It's just zeros. And so that was
we were just talking about that before we started. We were talking about, I think you shared a story. I think you read a book about Phil Knight.
Yeah.
From Nike. And how big was he?
Oh, I don't know. He was easily like, I think they were in the $30 to $40 million range, and he was trying to cover an $8 million payroll. I think,
right. So he was still struggling.
Yeah, still struggling
with the same things that the little guy.
That's
if he's doing $80 million,
$8,000 payroll.
Yeah.
It's just zeros.
So it's just zeros. Yeah. And then we were talking about that, and because my last guest was talking about that. He was, from all intents and purposes, was very successful, had a very large business, and was moving right along. But he talked about how there was nights when he was up all night looking at a spreadsheet trying to figure out how to cover payroll the next day.
Yeah.
So I think it's, like I said, it's just more zeros. Yeah. Same problems, same challenges.
Yeah.
And zeros don't fix the problems.
No.
It's like sometimes zeros make the problems worse.
Right. Yeah.
Just bigger problems.
Right. In fact, they do. Yeah. So much to learn from that too. I think, I don't even know if I want to start on that. I can. We could talk about it.
No, but that's a whole, it's a mindset, right? I think as young entrepreneurs, how many times did we all sit back and think to ourselves, man, if I could just get to this level, all my problems, I'd be set.
Yeah.
And then you get to that level and you're like, wait a minute, now I need to get to that level. And it really is. I mean, we've learned that over the years, that adding zeros doesn't necessarily take away problems.
Yeah. And learning to, yeah, no, I love that you're saying that, because the experience that comes to mind for me on that is 2018 for me. So 2018 was, we had peaked, might be the right way to put it. We were doing roughly 7 million in sales, and I was putting quite a bit of money to the bottom line, 28%, 30%. In manufacturing business, that's massive.
Yeah.
Right. And quite honestly, could have sustained that over the next 2 or 3 years, but I had gotten a couple offers to sell the business, or to buy the business, excuse me. And I went and talked to a few of my finance friends who were like, well, that's good money, but if you really want life-changing money, 5 more years of this kind of growth, and based on your history, you should be able to do that. Well, 2 years later, it was COVID. But I took their advice because I was like, well, I want life-changing money.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but what I wasn't looking at, like you said, coming back to this, like, more zeros, more problems. Well, 100%, that's what it turned into in a lot of ways, instead of just looking at, oh, well, here's a great business doing this much in sales and this much in profitability, and just being content to either sell that at that time or move it forward the way it is. So.
And how did COVID, this is interesting because, how did COVID mess with your business? I'm thinking in my mind, well, people are staying home, they're not going out to eat, and they're not going out and entertaining, but they still need to buy their journals. And but then again, now I'm thinking it through. I mean, Jackson Hole shut down, for example. And if you were, was there a lot of retail business that just stopped? Yeah,
we had two. I'll call that a recession, right? The first one we had was, so at one point, we moved into a lot of retail, wholesale retail, and I think we had over 8,000 stores by 2007, 2008, when that recession, the housing bubble burst, and the retail just dropped. So we went from 8,000 to probably less than 1,500.
Wow.
Like that many out of business.
And that was back in 08, 09.
It was in 08, 09. And then we grew it again. We had about 5,000 stores, wholesale retail chains that were stores that carried our products when COVID hit. And that hurt us pretty hard because obviously no one was buying things. And then, of course, the internet caught back up. Like, it was a huge boon for the internet after the first 6 months of frozen. People, everyone frozen, and then everyone just started to move to online, and that grew pretty well for us. But so it was a mixed bag for us. It was a lot of talk about solving problems after problem after problem. It turned out to be about a wash in terms of revenue and everything for us. But I immediately went from no sales coming in, absolutely nothing for 4 months, and pivoting my entire workforce to making masks.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, because
you had a facility.
It was before the PPE from overseas manufacturing could ship. And so I had a facility, sewing machines to make. And so and keep my people busy, I think I procured 3 or 4 massive government orders right out of the bat for a couple 100,000 masks to keep my people busy, and then move back to manufacturing as online sales started increasing. And so,
how many people did you employ at that time?
At that time, we had just over 40, 42, 43.
Right. But that was also a problem too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are they coming to work? Can they come to work? So you had to kind of close everything to figure out what this looked like.
Yeah, and it's not like work from home, right?
Yeah. They come in and
you have people that need to work there.
And did you? I imagine you had to invest in retooling a little bit, even though you're sewing, you still had to retool.
Yeah, I still have 30-something sewing machines that I don't know what to do with, but
that are really good for making masks.
Yep. So
it's a thing. Huh?
Yeah.
So the other part we talked about is we do the bootstraps and battle scars, and I know that as an entrepreneur and having been around other entrepreneurs, that we all have these battle scars, these moments where things didn't quite go right, things didn't quite go as planned, and we've already talked about some of those. And we have scars, and hopefully they're learning experiences. Hopefully they're reminders of something that happened in our past that hopefully prevents us from doing that again, right? Yeah. So let's talk about some of your battle scars. I mean, I know we talked about some big ones like COVID and the recession of 08, 09 couldn't prepare you for what happened with COVID. I mean that's a whole different thing, right?
Yeah. Two completely different. I mean, I don't think anyone predicted the COVID issue.
No, it came out of nowhere.
Coming, right? But at the same time, there are some similarities and some things that I think I learned in the recession of 2008 that helped me get through the COVID crisis, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
For me in 2008, obviously that was a recession. Going through that, I ended up with testicular cancer. So we had sold off the business in 2005. The guy literally tanked it in 2006. And we got the deal rescinded because he couldn't make payments to us, and so we got the business back in 2007. I brought out my partners in 2007 and had a silent partner, but I was solo, where I had 2 involved partners on the day-to-day. It went to me alone. So I was doing all the sales, all the marketing, all the operational manufacturing and planning and production, right? I was working burnout hours, for a good year or 2. And then in 2008, I was diagnosed with testicular cancer. And I remember actually going into the doctor, the urologist, the morning that I was diagnosed, and him telling me, we need to get you in for surgery now. And I had a trade show coming up in 3 days that I had to be to for my work. And I was like, we'll get to this when I get back. I got stuff to do. And he looked at me as kind of like, I just told you had cancer. Like,
yeah, well, I got a trade show.
Right. And that's exactly where my mind went. Yeah. So I was just so out of sync, purpose, passion, but I wasn't really being supported in other areas that I really needed some insight. And so that whole experience, I won't go into it too much, but cancer really taught me, like, slow down. I think over the next year, I went through 6 rounds of chemo and over an 8-month period, and then wrecked my health and really had to learn how to come back from health. And that's when you learn a lot of those other problems, like the zero problems we talk about, the money problems are really nothing when it comes to health and that. And that gave me a whole different perspective on business, on how to push in a rhythm and with flow instead of just kind of up against the wall all the time, like I thought I had to. And so by the time COVID hit, I had just a different approach, different mindset to it. And even though I think the problems are actually worse and harder, I was able to tackle them quite a bit easier because I'd looked at them and viewed them as less life-changing, less traumatic.
Because of your mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Like that 08, 09, the recession, your health issues, you changed something up here.
Yeah.
So even though the COVID recession was as bad or worse, you were mentally in a better place to handle it, to get through it.
Yeah. I think it shifted quite a bit from this idea that, and entrepreneurs, I think we get this where everything happens from us, right? We have to do it. And
That's good. In fact, that's an amazing
I still catch
observation
myself
of entrepreneurs. Yeah.
But the reality of it is things happen through us, not from us. And so, sorry, a little emotional, but I learned that through my cancer experience, that there's very little that I do, right? I'm just the conduit.
Mm-hmm.
And so COVID was a great way for me to just look at it and say, I'm here. What am I supposed to do? Instead of what do I have to do?
Right.
Or thinking that I had to be the one to do it. It was just, it'll happen if it's supposed to happen.
And for example, and I'll give you a chance to catch up. I don't know if your Wyoming ancestors would be proud of this moment. They would say, toughen up, man.
Yeah.
You're from Wyoming.
Well, new research has shown that, no, I'm serious. New research has shown that tears actually show mature emotional processing.
Oh.
So, suckers.
Okay. I'm going to start trying. I need to
cry,
start.
cry more often.
I got to learn how to cry.
Yeah.
So, for example, and this is my takeaway from what you just said, is that coming into that COVID, having a different idea and a different mindset towards business probably, I would say, helped you identify an opportunity in doing the masks.
Yeah.
Like it just opened you up like, okay, what am I doing here? What's next? Instead of, I know what that persistent entrepreneur mindset is of just push, and I've got to do.
Yeah.
Sometimes that gets in our way.
Yep.
Yeah.
We get so focused on this is the opportunity I want that we actually forget to think about all the other possible opportunities that could be presented to themselves. We shut all those doors is really what we're doing instead of allowing them to stay.
And how many people hit the recession wall and just it breaks them?
Yeah.
Right, because they're not open to a pivot. They're not open to
if it doesn't happen this way, then it's wrong. So and I've seen that myself. In fact, when we sold Rustico off, it wasn't the most ideal time for me. That's not how I envisioned me exiting that company.
The most recent one?
Yeah, when I sold Rustico most recently. And so it was tough. It was tough for me to lay that down, if you will, and say, it is what it is. Let's see what is it supposed to, what is the meaning of that then for me now, and how do I take that and move forward?
Yeah. So. Because I think, and I've talked about that a little bit in my circles of, this ego. I've had this ego for 40 years that, I'm the doer, I'm the getter done, I push, I'm persistent, I make things happen. So when things don't go our way, I've had to put my ego in check. I've had to park it at the back door and say, you need to, and I need to go make some decisions that may not work well with your ego, but you have to do them.
Yeah.
Right. You have to do them, like laying people off or even closing a business.
Yeah.
I mean, what a blow to your ego, because your identity is like, I built this and I'm making it successful. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that hurts.
When you have to let someone go, or your identity or your business is no longer what it was, and it hurts your identity.
Yeah.
Shifting that gears to not was really tough to do through cancer. And then of course, again, in COVID, and even through during the last 2 or 3 years at Rustico, there was some really tough hardships that I think I needed to learn how to let go of the ego that was tied directly to the identity around who was I, In fact, I remember, as I was telling some people, some long time friends and associates that I've known in the community when I was selling off Rustico, it was like, well, you're Mr. Rustico.
Yeah.
And now I'm kind of offended by that.
No, I'm Isaac.
I'm I'm actually Isaac. But
I'm Wyoming pacing
guy.
I
was like, I know, right?
Yeah.
What am I going to do?
Yeah.
And so it's like, you can just see where your identity gets totally tied into.
Yeah.
And that's not a fatal flaw, I think, of entrepreneurs, but definitely something that you have to be aware of is like, we do what we love to do, but sometimes it becomes us.
Which, it's interesting because we also touched on a little bit about branding. And I think that you did such a good job of branding, you and Rustico and this Rustico, because, you and I spent some time together, in some business groups 20 some years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I had to be early 2000s, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And so I knew you from that, and I knew you as Isaac with Rustico, right? And then, I've always kept, I've had your product, I've always had it, I've always kept tabs on Rustico, but you and I never really crossed paths. And then all of a sudden it was last year, or maybe 2 years ago. When did you sell the business?
23. Yeah.
Yeah, so it must have been 23 when I was looking for a leather binder. I had the fortunate opportunity to marry my son and my daughter-in-law. They asked me to marry them, right? It was awesome.
Yeah.
But I felt like I needed this really cool leather cover to put my notes in, so as I'm standing up there, I looked kind of cool, right? And the first thing I thought of was you and Rustico. So I tracked you down. I went out to your facility. Whoever the gal was that helped me, actually gave me her personal item.
Yeah.
Because I was looking for something, and she came down to help me because you had that little retail store in front of the building.
Yeah.
And I found this leather, really floppy kind of leather cover that had some inserts in it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is perfect, but it wasn't the right color.
Oh, yeah.
And she said, well, I have one. Do you want it?
Yeah.
I'm like, really?
That's
I mean, it was
awesome.
super cool, but I remember saying, hey,
Gina.
Isaac, where's Isaac? I know he's here somewhere, and I hadn't seen you in a long time, and you weren't there, but of course, I really wanted a discount. I hope, I figured we'd be friends, and you'd give me a discount. But anyways, you did a great job of branding, and I think that's a compliment, saying that, you were Rustico guy.
Yeah.
Because everyone knew who you were, everyone knew what you did, and I think that's great. That's very complimentary.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I infused a lot of my personal, what I feel like is my personal mission and purpose statement into the brand Rustico. And I did that in a way that I think, obviously helped, we'll talk about those three legs, purpose and passion. Like I needed both of those within that business to really kind of drive it forward the way that I wanted. And to tell that story. I mean, that it started with the leather journals and notebooks, which is what I'm really passionate about and have always been. And so it just fell in line.
And you still journal. Like this is just a thing you do.
Yeah. I think journaling is one of those skills or practices. This is as powerful as prayer or meditation. Yeah. And it's, they kind of say like an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Well, journal a day keeps the therapist away. Like in a lot of ways, you can do a lot to process through the emotional experiences we have on a daily basis through just a daily journaling practice.
Have you written that book yet? A Journal a Day Keeps the Therapist Away?
No, it's a good book.
That's a good book.
It's a good book title.
That's a great book. Okay, so here's another question for you. When you sold Rustico, did you grab a couple boxes of your favorite journal and just stash them in your garage so you'd have them? You don't have to go buy new ones.
Yeah. I've over the years I have my stash of journals. In fact, we just were moving over the weekend, and my brothers and nephews were down to help me, and there was 6 boxes, these bins that were super heavy, and they're like, "What do you got in here? Rocks?" And I was like,
"Life supply.
They're journals.
Lifetime supply of journals."
Yeah. Well, they're all used. They're all filled. So I'm like, those ones can't go anywhere. Those ones have to stay with me. But I have plenty of journals. Yeah. And luckily I know how to make them. So.
I had a product that I created and sold, but before I sold it, I kept enough for me. So I'd never, because I can't imagine having to go buy that.
Yeah.
That'd be so lame, right? So for you to go buy a leather journal would be like, what's this?
It would take a lot for me to go buy a leather journal.
Yeah. Okay. So a couple things. Pretend like we're sitting here and you're sitting across from your
young. Do I have to pretend, or are we? Well,
let's pretend. Let's pretend. Yeah. Right. But now I'm not here.
Okay.
Your younger version of yourself is sitting across this table from you.
Okay.
And he says, "Hey, Isaac, old Isaac, old emotional Isaac, what are you going to tell me? What's that piece of advice you're going to give me to help me get through my journey as a businessman?"
It's something that I used to say all the time to my employees that I think I still say to myself is especially when we would get kind of hustle or riled up because we were short on deadlines or timing or whatever, was like, "Hey guys, we're not saving lives and it's not rocket science." And so that's probably the first piece of advice that I give is it's not critical. So cut yourself some slack. And it's also not rocket science, meaning you can figure it out. It's not that hard. And it doesn't need to be that difficult. And then this is something I've always said since I was a kid anyway, but I'd tell it to myself again. It's like, keep it simple. That's something that I think I've always tried to do across any organization or anything I'm building is like, what's the simplest way to accomplish this? And then the last piece of advice, I think, as my older self telling to my younger self is trust yourself more. Just because you're young doesn't mean you don't know what you're doing. So
that's huge. Trust yourself. Because as youngsters, we don't do that. We don't believe in ourselves that much, huh?
Yeah. We get told, even as we age, right? We get told that there's experts in everything, and we're not the expert. As an entrepreneur, you're even told like you're a jack of all trades, but a master of none, right? Well, the rest of that saying, actually, that's only the first half of the saying. The rest of that saying actually is, and don't quote me on this because I think I'm not going to say it right, but I think it's jack of all trades, master of none, but it's better than a master of none is better than a I can't remember the last part, but it's basically saying that having at least a general knowledge of all of it's better than a single knowledge of one thing.
And not knowing other things,
Yeah.
I'm gonna find that quote.
Yeah.
I'm gonna find it.
Yeah. There's the second half of that saying is actually really cool.
In fact, I didn't even know there was a second half, so I'm gonna go find that.
Yeah.
Because
it actually says the end of it says knowledge of a lot is better than a master of one.
Yeah.
Is kind of how it says
it.
And so it's, we just see the first part of that and we think, well, we're not a master of one, right? So we don't know, we're not experts, and so we need to.
But it also has a little bit of negative connotation.
Yeah,
Jack
it does.
of all trades, master of none, because I am that, right? I can do anything.
Well, and most entrepreneurs are.
Yeah, most entrepreneurs are, but it should be taken as I take it as positive. I mean, I know a lot. I know a lot. I know a lot.
Yeah, and it really should. It has a negative connotation, but it should be a positive.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, next question. Now, we're pretending to sit here.
Okay.
But now you're sitting across from not the younger Isaac Childs, but from just some young entrepreneur who's getting ready to conquer the world. What kind of advice do you give him?
Well, I'll be repetitive. It's people, passion, and purpose. You gotta build those three foundations.
So find that thing that you're passionate about, establish your purpose, and surround yourself with good people.
Yeah. So I would hold on that. I used to actually tell people all the time, like, find your passion. You'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
I don't know if I believe that anymore. I think it's more important that you work on purpose and people. Passion comes, and passion goes. So
I like that.
The passion kind of stays if you have purpose in people.
Yeah. Okay. And then we're gonna wrap it up with one more question.
Let's do it.
Would you do it over again?
Yeah. I don't know if I've stopped. So
that's right. You're back in it, aren't you?
Yeah. Next thing.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, Isaac, this has been good.
Yeah.
Like I said, we knew each other, then we didn't for a long time, but we reacquainted here. It's been a couple years. Yeah. Yeah. When you were
almost
going through
2 years,
we were both kind of going through a transition in our lives that were very similar, and a good friend of ours put us together, and I'm glad we did that.
Yeah, I know.
And but now I got to figure out where I'm going to get a free journal.
I can't help you there.
Where's your garage?
Unless you come find my garage, I can hook you up.
Actually, I have. I mean, seriously, if I go to my office, I have several Rustico binders, because I remember we used to go to events too where people would buy those and put our names on them and hand them out. I mean, I have a handful of those, which is really cool. So it was a great product. Great product.
Well, if you ever need a journal because you filled up your other one,
I have to fill it up first.
Yeah. It's kind of important.
That could be a thing.
Yeah. No.
Okay. Well, that was awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.